Hello and welcome back to Grafted.Branch.Ministry. As always, I'm Scotty Erb. Today's study, we're kind of piggybacking off of what we did last week in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. There's a verse that I wanted to touch on, but I didn't want to make the study too long. And the verse in particular that I'm referring to, if you go ahead and turn, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, look at verse 13. Forgive my hair, I've been working this morning, so 2 Corinthians 12, verse 13. For what is it wherein ye were inferior to other churches, except it be that I myself was not burdensome to you? Forgive me this wrong. What is Paul talking about right there? So, if you didn't watch last week's study, go and watch it. Okay. I believe the title was, what does your resource provide you? What is your resource expedient for? Rather worldly or heavenly things. And talking about that, when Paul mentions inferior to other churches, what does he mean? Is he talking about other Christian churches? I don't believe so. Because there's other groups of belief, okay, that call themselves churches. Right now, I don't know if you've heard anything in news or read in books or what have you, okay, but worshipers of Satan call themselves the Church of Satan. What's the definition of a church? It's the gathering, or not even the gathering, but the collective belief of one form or another. So when there's a collective belief on something, they are called a church. Just the same, okay, when you look at secular means and what they would call science, the Bible calls it science falsely so called, but you got things like evolution. Okay, it's the Church of Evolution, whether you want to call it that or not. Now, if you think I'm wrong, well, you're free to believe what you will. But if you claim to believe in God, okay, you got to believe in everything that's in the Word of God, right? This is our doctrine. The King James Bible is pure, inerrant, profitable for reproof, correction, unto righteousness, and there's nothing else that you can go to, no other outside source. There's plenty of other churches that say that they have an extended gospel, usually named after whoever it was that founded particular religion, that has extra books. But look with me real quick, go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 8. Paul writes, and this is before chapter 12, obviously, but he says, I robbed other churches, taking wages of them to do you service. What is Paul getting at? Right? Go ahead and go with me. Let's unpack this a little bit. Acts chapter 19. Okay. Acts chapter 19. Let's go. Let's look at verse 25. Okay, or we'll start in verse 24. We got people working the field out behind me. I didn't want them thinking that I was recording them, so I pointed the camera off in the other direction. But anyways, Acts chapter 19, verse 24, we read, For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen. So he's making idols unto this goddess Diana. Right? Now, instead of reading through it all, pause, read through it so that you get the context. Then once you're done, we'll pick up. I'm skipping ahead. for expedient of time, to keep this video a little bit briefer, look at verse 37. For ye have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. So, in context, they gather together in a court of sense, right? They got together in the city court, and there was Greeks and Jews alike that were trying to resolve the matter. And this silversmith brought up attention that he's turning people away from Diana, and they're not buying our idols that we're making anymore out of silver. And in such, he's robbing them of their wages. He's robbing other churches, right? The Church of Diana, for profit to the Christians. Taken away. And that's all that the Bible does, is it comes with another truth. If you believe in such things, it's written in Scripture. And if you say that your church is your belief, a church is, you're no more than just believing in a man-made system. Okay? Now you might be saying, oh, well, what about when it says the church of here, the church of there, at the beginning of Revelations? It's pointing out the fall in each of them, how they've fallen away, right? So when there's, in context, it's talking about different churches. As to Christians, they have made themselves a separate church, following after different beliefs, falling away from the gospel of peace, falling away from the gospel of Christ and God's word. And they then have made themselves separate churches. You get it? A church, going back to the definition of what a church is. A church is the collection of people that believe in the same thing. Like I said before, those that worship after Satan, they too have a church, and they call it the Church of Satan. So be careful when you're saying, I go to this church. What church do you go to? The church is not a matter with God. Now, getting back to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. What is Paul saying when he says in verse 13, for what is it wherein ye were inferior to other churches, except it be that I myself was not burdensome to you? Forgive me this wrong. For what is it wherein ye were inferior to other churches? They see the person that brought them their gospel was being burdensome unto them, was trying to correct them of their wrongs. If you didn't watch my other study, okay, if your resource, the person that's teaching you the Word of God, is not expedient for heavenly things, but expedient for worldly things, he's going to preach these feel-good messages all the time. Where if he's expedient for heavenly things, he's going to be trying to correct your wrongs, trying to get you back on track. And you see, as he goes through it, okay, skip down to verse 19. Again, think ye that we excuse ourselves unto you? We speak before God and Christ, but we do all things, dearly beloved, for your edifying. For I fear, lest when I come, I shall not find you such as I would. So he's wishing that he finds them perfect and taking in that edification. Edification, another way of saying correction, another way of saying building up, turning from, building up anew. Okay, so they're taking their old life, the old man, behold, the old man is passed away, all things are become new, you are a new creature in Christ, right? And then he continues on, and that I shall be found unto you, such as you would not. So they don't want to be corrected neither. But what's Paul supposed to do if he's truly a man of God, truly a preacher of God? And he makes them feel inferior to other churches because they're falling short of the way that they should be according to Scripture. Okay? There's a whole lot that I can get into on this, right? For example, go with me to Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So, and there's plenty of other verses I can go to, but I want to keep this video brief because it's kind of an added-on video to last week's study. Now, when Paul says that you feel like you're inferior to other churches, he's not talking about Christians. He's talking about the other forms of belief in their region, such as Diana. Well, Diana was in Ephesus, not in Corinth, but the same still applies. I guarantee you there was a church of Diana in that region. There's probably many other different forms of belief. So, and each of those other forms, oftentimes, were encouraging people to do what's wrong according to Scripture, according to man's desires. Instead of elaborating on a bunch of things, I'm just going to go ahead and end it here. Say thank you for watching. And if I don't see you again before at the feet of Jesus, take care, stay strong, stay true. If you are found inferior to other churches, praise God for that, because He is correcting you in righteousness. He is correcting you by the Word of God. And all things of God are opposed to things of the world. Anyways, that's that then. Bye now.